Cheers! Welcome to Movie Bitches!
Episode 249. Tonight we're reviewing The United States versus Billie Holiday. It's a very long title.
I'm surprised it isn't Lee Daniels, The United States versus Billie Holiday. He loves his long titles, you know. Precious by Sapphire. What was that whole thing?
Monique in Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Precious, based on the book.
The novel Sapphire by whatever. It was like a whole fucking thing.
Yes.
Oh my
That's
God.
what it was. Precious, based on the novel Sapphire. By Sapphire?
And the winner is Monique in Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
I honestly thought that it was just called Lee Daniels Butler. Like, I thought that was like, I thought that was the whole title.
Of course.
First things first, shout out to our wine sponsor, Wink. Go to trywink.com/moviebitches. You get $22 off your first month of wine. Second, shout out to our Patreon supporters. $5 a month gets you early access. $10 gets you access to our viewing parties. Thank you. And make sure to subscribe, share, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I wish there was like a Billie Holiday way for me to say that, but not really.
Yeah, you know, she's a once in a century, universe, multiverse. She's one in a million, one of a kind, a galactic treasure. That's why I'm wearing this shirt. Yes. We will get into it right now. I can't express enough how much I love Billie Holiday. She is my number one singer of all time. Wow. I discovered her in middle school and was reading
From Clueless?
No. Well, I did love that because I actually knew what the joke was. I love him. I was at the middle school library and they had a poster of this fabulous woman with these gardenias in her hair. Billie Holiday. Who's that? What is that? I only know who Buddy Holly is. Are they related? No, they can't possibly be. Went to the library because the warehouse didn't have Billie Holiday CDs. Went to the library and ordered me some Billie Holiday CDs. Been a fan ever since.
Love that. So
this movie was an uphill battle before I even hit play because it's just like I can't separate her voice from, like, as amazing as this performance is and this singing voices, I couldn't separate it. Like somehow with Judy, I managed to. I don't know why. She's not quite as just my end all be all. So, you know, there's stuff going on, but the performance, probably as close as we're going to get. I mean, except for Audra McDonald. Oh my God.
But God bless the childless got his son.
Audra McDonald. Always Audra McDonald.
Always Audra.
But also,
there's so much to unpack.
Like, yes. Well, first, okay, so yes.
So that's my rant. Story over. I was trying to be as little as pretentious as I could be when I truly say that Billie Holiday is like part of the fabric of my being. And that's all. And then we can move on. Okay, great.
Okay, great. I've laid your baggage.
Here it is. It's all out on the table. Okay. And now Lee Daniels, The United States versus Billie Holiday.
I mean, I have thoughts on this movie. I really liked this movie, personally. I love Billie Holiday. Don't have the same attachment that you do. I will say I think that Judy is the perfect analogy for this movie. As Renee's performance made Judy, for me, Andra's performance makes this. She is amazing, I thought. And
I thought she was above and beyond the absolute best part of this movie. Except for, I mean, and I'm not trying to degrade her performance in any way, the vintage sunglasses it was everything. I want every pair. I am obsessed. I can't say enough about the vintage sunglasses. I mean, the outfits were also fabulous, but I was just like, oh my, there's so many. There's such a variety. I am so obsessed. But anyway.
So for me, I think she had a better performance than Renee as Judy.
Okay.
Because I thought she really brought the acting chops. Renee is an actress first, singer second, let's say, right?
She found her voice through acting roles.
But But she is an actress who can also sing.
Yes.
Andra, turns out, is a singer who can also act.
Yes.
I thought she really did act well.
And
but then
Audra McDonald can just do it all. Can we just talk about Audra McDonald for a minute, get it out of the way?
I mean, yeah, I think we have to. What can't that woman do?
If he wants them out of the way.
I knew about Lady Day at Emerson's Bar, something with words like that, that she did on Broadway, which is essentially 90 minutes of Audra McDonald playing Billie Holiday in a club, performing as if the audience that is actually there is the audience in the club that she is performing in. And I went down a real rabbit hole of watching all of her, and I mean, particularly I think it's impressive because Audra is like this operatic, like her voice is so big, has such range, has everything. And to just recreate this one of a kind, one in a million voice of Billie Holiday, but also to because Billie Holiday is not traditionally a great singer, right? It's all about the emotion and the feeling behind it. The singing she is singing her truth. She is singing her soul to you. And so the fact that Audra could do that and really did such a good job. Oh.
What a little moonlight can do.
Anyway, I just go down that rabbit hole because it is, she is amazing. So that's my Audra McDonald rant. Story over once again. Tangents. We got tangents.
So this movie.
Yes.
I think that there was a lot for me that worked and there were certain things that didn't. I personally would certainly have cut Leslie Jordan, even though I love him.
Oh, Lord.
I found that whole storyline subplot to be almost offensive to the sensibility of the movie. It was like, this is the Lee Daniels of it all.
I thought this movie was a mess, and she is great in it. Lee Daniels movies are chaotic, traumatizing, in my opinion, on a whole, unsatisfactory narratives that are just, you're left and you're like, I don't know what up is down, and oh my God, and I don't like feeling that way. That's how I feel about every time. Like, have you seen The Paperboy?
No.
I would be interested.
But I don't think I felt that way about this movie, is what I will say.
I would be interested if you saw Paperboy and what you thought about it, because there's parts of it where I'm like, oh, what's this? And then other parts that I'm like, oh no, this went too far for me. The perfect example of this movie just being all over the place is it starts with text of horrifying stats of lynchings. There's like almost a Ken Burns pan down to horrifying real life photograph of a lynching. It's awful. You're like, okay, we've set the scene. Here we are. And we cut to almost immediately Leslie Jordan in, I don't know, Angela Lansbury's wigs. Like Liberace and Angela Lansbury's wigs have created some sort of monster on top of his head. And he's playing, Leslie Jordan, this sort of effeminate, overly flamboyant character who doesn't exist, by the way. This is not a real person.
Right.
So I'm like,
Clearly.
why bother putting this in there? I thought maybe this, because it was such a caricature, I thought maybe this is like a real person. I looked it up. Nope. And he's, interviewing her, Billie Holiday, about sort of a retrospective of her life. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the framework. But the tonal shifts of just like bleak.
Yes.
It was almost funny, which is not good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was like, to me, it was almost offensive to the sensibility of the movie, where it was just
offensive.
like, and now caricature, and now absurdity, and now opera buffa. It's like, what's going on over here? This is buffoonery. Sorry, Leslie Jordan. Love you, but like, this was buffoonery. And then over here, it's like serious Oscar-worthy performance. And I'm like, but this is weird.
This is Lee Daniels. His movies they're so Lee Daniels. Like, he makes really specific movies that are very him. And I don't think I like his movies. I think that's just where I landed.
Maybe. For me, what was frustrating was just that I don't think that the framework was necessary
No,
I
it
think-
disappeared. He shows back up here and there-ish to be like, oh, let's ask this question, which will lead us to this. But there's nothing at the end with him. There's no and then he wrote an article, or he was the one that ghost wrote her biography.
It was all fake. It was just like...
It was all fake.
There's a better way to set up the story than this.
Well, that was my problem with this movie. The whole thing it was verging on misery porn for me.
Really?
Yeah, where I wanted more focus on the music. I needed a balance where, okay, now we're in rehearsal and she is finding her joy in her life. And like my favorite scene was when she gets out of jail and she's exercising and there's the piano player and she's going, oh, let's phrase this like this, and she's practicing and trying to get her voice back. That's what I like. And so I thought the story really should have been more about her and Lester Young, which was the saxophone player. That was her longest relationship platonically with a man. They were like best friends. They had a falling out that I guess we kind of see the falling out when she leaves them on the side of the road. But I really would have enjoyed, because it's over a 10-year period they're trying to show her life. I really would have enjoyed more of the processes of the music, and we can still show the darkness and the horrible things that were happening, but then to have more joy in her, how she's expressing it and working through the trauma in the rehearsals. And she was so famous for her improvisation and all of that, and sort of her and Lester had this unspoken, like, they didn't have to even talk to each other when they were, they just got it. And so I would have actually liked the framework to be more about their relationship instead of all of these men, because it turns out Soldier Boy, FBI guy, and her, it's not, they knew each other, but this whole and they had this grand romance, fated blah, 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 isn't really biographically fully accurate.
Interesting.
So I was like, I don't know about this whole, this knight in shining armor kind of came and taught her how to love. It was just a little, particularly since it wasn't totally real. I just was like,
I get that. I didn't know that. But I also didn't necessarily get the knight in shining armor thing either. For me,
I'm being a little
more like
hyperbolic, but like...
Well, sure.
Yeah.
It felt more like a sexy catch me if you can kind of vibe.
His character was odd to me. He gets most of the arc. Like, he's the one that changes and grows and,
I do feel like I remember seeing or reading or something that his mother was entirely made up. Or something.
Probably.
She's singing it for all of us. Ain't no other Negro star bold enough to do it.
So that whole idea of her being this fabulous bunt that was like, what the fuck are you doing, you fucking idiot? I mean, more or less.
What the fuck are you doing, you fucking idiot?
That scene I thought was great. Where she's just like, hello. And so that was all made up.
I'm trying to remember the last time I watched a movie, a biopic about particularly musicians that I truly enjoyed and loved. And I can't think of one. Maybe Coal Miner's Daughter. Yeah, and so it's hard, particularly with musicians and singers. I feel like it's very hard because they're picking people who have iconic voices. So that's already a barrier. But then, I don't know, I just feel like people make shit up. Yeah. And then after I pull one thread, we start with Leslie Jordan and I'm going, well, this seems really weird. So once I found out that wasn't true, then I started picking at the threads of and also, there's speculation that she had an affair with this FBI guy, but it wasn't some... and this was the love of her life. That's not particularly well known. So I started to pick away at it, and then I started to go, well, what else isn't true? And then I start to go, stop lying to me, movie. It's
I get that.
It's both things. It's both things.
I personally found this to be more successful than all of the recent biopics that I can remember.
Well, it's certainly better than...
Bohemian Rhapsody, obviously much better. Rocket Man... For me, much better. If Rocket Man had been directed by Julie Taymor, different conversation. But it was not.
Well, it's similar. So, we had talked about with The Glorias, where And it helped that obviously we saw the interview with Julie Taymor and Gloria Steinem after where they said we tried to get every single thing correct as we could. And if we had to change something, we asked the person if they were still alive, what do you think? Well, as long as the sort of overall truth of what, you know, the conversation is there, I don't care if it happened timeline-wise slightly differently.
Right.
And so it's like I trusted Julie Taymor to tell that story in a way where I didn't have to pick at threads and go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. It helps, obviously, that Gloria Steinem is still alive and they can fact check everything, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough when you start to pick away at it and go, wait, that feels wrong, and what do you mean? And so I don't know. There was certainly impactful things that happened, and like her performance is.
Oh my God.
He really does manage. The best thing I would say about Lee Daniels movies is he manages to get raw, very open and truthful and crazy performances out of his actresses. Like with Precious, with Paperboy, I mean, Nicole Kidman, I was all, what?
If anyone's gonna piss on him, it's gonna be me. He don't like strangers peeing on him. Come on, mate, come on.
You should watch Paperboy. I would be very interested.
Okay.
I think you might not like it, but it's definitely like a, what did I just watch? What did I just watch? I don't know.
Well, and to be fair, that's kind of, I guess, how I felt at the end of this movie. But for me, the more that I kept thinking about it, the more I liked it. And I felt like what I really appreciated was I didn't feel like this movie victimized her. Oh, look at her and her drug addiction. Look at her and, you know.
I didn't feel like it fully victimized her either, but I also don't feel like I needed to watch 2+ hours of sort of the same-ish thing happening over and over. Another abusive man in her life, more drugs, more sad things happening, sad stuff. I like more of an up and a down, and I think it could have been much shorter.
Always.
Always. But anyway, tighter, shorter, trim that fat. Leslie Jordan, sorry, snip, snip, you're on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
It was a little bit too much for me over the top wise, where it's like, she's addicted to heroin. We're going to show the needle going right into her arm. You know, it's Lee Daniels, you know, it's Lee Daniels.
I don't know. I guess I just thought that there was like a larger tie-in and conversation to systemic racism, to racism in general.
Yes.
Judy doesn't tackle.
No, you know, Judy
Obviously.
was tackling other things, and Judy is a
Sure.
much nicer movie. Oh, wasn't that nice? It's like much more digestible. Like compared to this, it was more digestible compared to this. Everything in Judy was alluded to. Oh, something kind of horrible happened, but we're not going to show it. You can just kind of think about it and go, wow, that's sad.
Yeah.
Where this was just
This was like,
here you go.
lynching.
Oh, we're going to have a lynching, like a full real-time, great. Oh boy. Oh, we're going to have a heroine flashback where she takes her new lover to the brothel she was raised in. Okay. You know, it was like, we're going to show it. And this was, subtlety is not Lee Daniels. He does not know what the word subtlety means.
An attempt to do too much.
Do it all.
And
tackle every
just
topic.
Literally, we're going to do
that's
every
why
topic.
It kind of felt like, as much as I really liked Natasha Lyonne, and Tallulah Bankhead is a fabulous bunt.
Yeah.
She's a fabulous bunt. Did she need to be in this movie, or was it just sort of like, let's also throw in the whole bisexual aspect of it because it's something else to talk about? Like her character, I don't feel like I got to know Tallulah Bankhead particularly. No. She was there just to sort of to magnify like, this is the racism. She's white and she isn't, and this is what's, you know.
Sure.
It was that, and so I liked that she was there because I like Natasha Lyonne, but it didn't really do much for the movie, really.
I agree. I think you could either explore that, and maybe that's something that we can then spend time in that's not horribly depressing, although it probably ends up kind of being so because she would have to hide herself. So like, you know.
But still there's, you know, joy in, like, we can find some happiness, you know, in the.
Yes, sure.
I would have liked to know more.
But it also didn't victimize that aspect of her. Oh, look, she was closeted, you know.
No, it didn't.
So there wasn't that either. I mean, like, when you look at Bohemian Rhapsody,
Oh, boy.
right, and they're like, oh, yeah, like, I mean, that's where it's such a fine line.
Really
and I don't
fine
think
line.
that I've seen someone do a great job, really.
I was really
That
trying
at
to think
least
about it.
He
yeah.
was trying it.
I tell you what, they went for everything. It was
They went for it.
all hanging out. I mean, her whole, not posse, entourage, right? I would like to know more about Miss Freddie
Sure.
and Eye Patch Woman. I don't know anything about them. They hung out with
Sure.
her backstage. I guess she was
Yep.
a friend to the Oddballs, quote unquote. I don't like that. I don't know what that was telling me because I don't know how they
Yeah.
met. I don't know why they're friends, what sort of background and relationship they have. They were there to
Right.
be.
Well, and then she keeps leaving them, essentially, is the only plot line there. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're at this Italian restaurant. Isn't this going to be a nice dinner? Bye, bitch. And I'm like,
Bye,
what?
bitch. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And so it was like the same over and over. So at a certain, like, that's why I
Yeah.
just think it should have been shorter. And I really would have liked more. Like, Billie Holiday wrote quite a few songs, like lyrics and stuff.
Sure.
I would have liked
Yeah.
to have her explore that. Like the song "Don't Explain" is about a very specific fight she had with one of her husbands. So I just would have liked more of that for me. That's not really the story that they were telling because we
Right.
haven't even talked about the fucking plot, which is a
Right.
fascinating and horrifying story about how the FBI essentially, we haven't even talked about strange fruit. I mean, what are we doing? So the plot is Billie Holiday, her most famous song, I guess at this point, I think God Bless the Child is right up there as far as like famous, which she also wrote, by the way, is a horrifying song, haunting song about lynching and racism and all of the above. And the FBI decided that she was stirring up too many emotions and telling the wrong tales, and they were gonna pretty much systematically fuck her over because they didn't
Yeah.
like that. Fucked.
Yeah.
Totally fucked.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they also gave enough time to the FBI people to really make that the plot.
I felt like they had enough screen time. I was good with
I was
them.
good. I was good. Don't get me wrong. It didn't feel like it was a story about the FBI versus Billie Holiday only. 'Cause like we said, they were trying to tell all of it instead of
All of these
we're
tales.
focusing on this thing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it came in and out. You know, Garrett Hedlund, I love him, but why was he's determined to just keep playing horrible racist people in movies. What was that
Yeah,
other movie where
why
he was
is
like,
that?
I
I was wondering
just like, okay, I don't know.
what's going on here. I guess he just seems, he can read racist. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, because then at the end, so Garrett Hedlund plays this actual FBI agent. They show the real footage of him at the end, and he looks like Donald Pleasance and Telly Savalas. And I was like, you cast Garrett Hedlund as this? Like, what are we doing? What?
I mean, you know, I think in some ways it was a wish list, cast list. I think that was, you know, it was like, oh, I want these people. You know, Natasha Lyonne, love her.
Love her.
Not sure if that's the right casting choice, but, you know, whatever.
It was, you know, I was like, okay. When they showed the real guy at the end, I was like, oh,
Whoa. Yeah.
he seems to be 30 years older than Garrett Hedlund and not look like him at all. That tells a different story to me than this sort of
Sure.
youngish racist
Right.
person versus,
fair.
you know, it's a little different. Well, yeah, because speaking of like the real footage, so the whole movie like combines real photographic still imagery, real newsreels, real newspapers, real bad photoshopping. That montage of like, we're in front of that tour bus. I was like, you had that bus. Why does this look fake? What's that? That was really cracking me up. The like old-timey photos. I'm like, you showed us an actual old-timey grainy photo.
Old-timey
You
photo.
can't show us
Right.
now a Photoshop
Yeah.
black and white photo. It doesn't work that
Right.
way. You got to
It
use an
doesn't
old
work
camera if you're gonna do it.
But I did think that was a decent mechanism of incorporating the stock, like, or the
Oh, sure.
archival footage. You know.
Yeah, it was often when they showed that stuff, it was montaged with her singing. And
Right.
I was having a great time watching her perform.
Just
like,
watching
for
her.
me, the best parts of the movie are her just singing.
Absolutely.
And
I wanted to
so-
just watch that concert.
Exactly. So, like, even these sort of quote unquote joyful or at least powerful and engaging moments of her singing were then like also interrupted with dramatic and upsetting stuff. So I kept being like, no, don't cut away from her fabulous makeup and her outfits and she's singing and I'm finally having a good time. Oh, I don't want to, do that once, but all the time, no, you know, I was like, no. I did love, I think my favorite part of the movie, aside from the sunglasses, was at the very end. There was just so over the top with like, you know, I don't think that FBI guy was hanging out in her hospital room himself.
Sure.
Stuff like that where you're like, dramatic license, sure. But when she was like, you know, he's trying to entrap her once again, and she says, basically, fuck you, your grandkids are going to be singing Strange Fruit. And I was like, yes, bitch.
Yes.
Fuck you, asshole. Yes. That was the best. For that, I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah. Certainly the headline is her performance.
Yes, she did it all. It reminded me too of, and this is the new Give Me an Oscar, I'm Playing Queen Elizabeth, the Edith Piaf movie with Marion Cotillard. What was that movie called?
La Vie en Rose.
Oh, there you go.
And actually, I was just thinking about that, and I was going to say that might be maybe my favorite musician tragic biopic.
It might be. That was, I remember liking it at the time.
And that's fair too. I haven't watched it since it came out and she got an Oscar.
Similar to like, I remember really liking Walk the Line. You know, I remember liking Ray, but I don't remember loving any of them, where I'm just like, you did it.
Sure.
You nailed
it's a hard thing to do.
Particularly since,
you know,
unfortunately, a lot of these stories about musicians are horribly tragic, and it's like, and the inevitable drug addiction, and, you know, they have a lot of similarities, unfortunately. Just that happens. And so you're kind of like, I'm just waiting for them to destroy themselves with drugs. I'm sad.
They were on the road all the time, and they had fleeting relationships, and people were using them, and they were depressed and miserable, and so then they turned to drugs, and then they had a drug addiction, and it's like, this is a story that is well known, unfortunately.
The tale as old as time, if you will. Well, that's why I always want, I personally always want these movies to be more about the process of the music, because that's what I find so interesting, and that is, you know, usually their outlet, their safe place, you know, where they can be themselves and express themselves. And so I want to get into why they wrote these lyrics, or how they figured out this melody, or what was going on. And that's hard because that's so personal and probably isn't written down, or you know, that kind of stuff. But that's what I want to watch a movie about. And then yes, you can kind of tell the other stuff and it's there, but like, give me those details, you know, none of this fucking Rocket Man shit where it's like, oh, he named himself after John Lennon. Oh, that's a complete lie. Great. Why put it in? Why just tell tales? Now everyone that watches that movie is going to be like, oh, did you know that he named himself after John Lennon? No.
Lies.
It's a lie. So that kind of stuff drives me crazy. But her performance.
You know what biopic I want to see?
What?
Dolly Parton.
Ooh.
Because it's not tragic.
It's not tragic. It's fascinating. I don't know how you get someone, I guess, who do you get? Who can do Dolly, though? She just is. She's just Dolly.
Audra McDonald?
You know what? If anyone could pull it off, it's Audra. So anyway, I would say for me, I wouldn't really... If you're in a place where you can watch a movie that's pretty fucking upsetting, go ahead and watch it for her performance, because she is fab. And if you don't know anything about Billie Holiday, well, I don't know if you should watch this for that reason, but go listen to Billie Holiday. Go
it certainly
get into
made me want to listen
catalog.
to it more. I was just like, Billie Holiday playlist now.
You know what, too? I mean, this is so fucking specifically nitpicky. The orchestration sounded wrong. She had too many background players. It sounded just a little too modern. Usually, you know, it was more pared down, just a piano and sax and a drum. And like at Carnegie Hall, it was like orchestrated, and I'm like, she's not Ella Fitzgerald. Sure. This isn't like, she doesn't have the big orchestra behind her. It just felt wrong. Anyway.
Did I send you that clip of Ella doing Jack the Knife?
Jack the Knife or Mac the Knife?
Mac the Knife. That's what
Okay, I was like, wait. Is Jack the Knife like a parody song of Mac the Knife?
No. I meant Mac the Knife. I
You
don't
know
know why I said
what?
Jack
I
the
don't
Knife.
think you did, but strangely enough, because also Bobby Darin, that's the reason I still haven't seen Beyond the Sea, the Bobby Darin, Kevin Spacey movie, because similarly to, oh yeah, you didn't know about this? Oh boy. He did a Bobby Darin biopic, even though he was older than Bobby, like by a number of years older than Bobby Darin was when he died.
Of course he did. He's an egotistic. Don't get me started on.
Okay,
anyway.
look, but I like could not, because if we're talking like Billie Holiday is my number one female singer, Bobby Darin.
Wow.
Bobby Darin. I love him from elementary school. It's all about Bobby Darin. And we were just talking about, because Mac the Knife came on, and I was singing it, heard it upwards of 1 million times. I've heard this song. It was my grandpa's favorite song. And we're listening to it, and he's talking about Suki Tawdry and all of this weird stuff. And I go, what the fuck is this song about?
Yeah,
I suddenly
yeah.
went, who is Suki Tawdry? After 20 years of listening to this song, it's from Three Penny Opera. It's about a serial killer, not a serial, well, he's a like amoral killer person, like kind of some combination of like Oliver and Sweeney Todd situation. Anyway,
Gotcha.
His name is McKeith.
Oh.
He goes by Mac the Knife. Suki Tawdry was a prostitute who hung out around. But anyway, so Bobby Darin went and saw this play in the 50s and said, I gotta jazz up and sing that song. And Atlantic Records was like, you are a teen idol. You cannot be singing a song about a man who's murdering prostitutes. And he was like, fought him and got it, and it became a big hit, obviously. So
Huge
anyway,
hit.
that was my
Yeah.
Mac the Knife tutorial.
I love that. Well, so you have to, I'll
Ella.
send you the Ella thing, because it came on randomly in like my car, and it was just like, you know why it came on? Because I was playing Billie Holiday.
Of course.
After watching this movie, I was like, I need some Billie Holiday in my life. And it was like, Billie Holiday radio or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, well, here's some Ella. And she was in like Berlin or some tour or whatever.
The
And
new,
she's like,
they just found, it's a new recording. The whole album, the Berlin, the Lost Tapes. I downloaded it. Yeah, it's great.
I think that's why. So she's like, we haven't done this song before, but we're going to give it a try because it's real popular. And it's Mac the Knife. And then she just starts like in the middle of it. She's just like, and something, because I don't know the words. And I'm just like, yes?
Oh, what's the next chorus to this song now?
You are a fabulous bunt. Yes.
Would I? Oh, I don't know who. Well, now I'm going, okay, is there an Ella Fitzgerald biopic? Who would play her? Audra McDonald.
Sure.
She's always the answer. Always.
Always. Although I was also going to say, do we think Maya Rudolph could get in here?
I mean, yes.
But also, always Audra.
Always Audra.
But Andra Day, I still thought was amazing. Like,
I thought
this was an
amazing.
Oscar-worthy performance.
Yes, I thought she was amazing, and if it was going to be nominated for anything, it is her performance. It is all anyone will talk about. They will forget the movie and go down to your local library and get some Billie Holiday CDs,
I love it. Love
Just
it.
Loop it.
Cheers.
Cheers.